Lately, whenever I rethink how I do my desk, it just keeps on getting more and more complex with a bunch of different buttons to do different things. I mean, just look at how many cables there are under my current desk. It's like I'm running a data center down there. Instead, I thought it'd be pretty nice if I had a workspace without all the frills. You know, a setup that's just back to the basics, minimal and focused on productivity. And here's what I came up with. This is the minimal productivity focused MacBook setup, or any laptop setup. Let's get started with a little desk tour. Most people these days only own one computer, and that's a laptop. Some people get by with just a tablet, but if you work on your laptop or work from home, you know how quickly all of the cables start to get tangled or mixed together after you do all these different things, which is 100% not ideal and is a huge eyesore. I wanted a space that I could drill down and do the work I need to do, one that makes me feel focused and not overwhelmed when I'm sitting at it. I also use a bunch of different laptops. I have multiple laptops for my full-time job, for YouTube, and it has to be a space my wife can use with her laptop too. So the goal was simple. I wanted to make a desk setup with a minimalistic, modern aesthetic suited for plugging in any laptop and focusing on the task at hand. With that, I wanted something simple, but warm. My current desk setup, it has a lot of dark colors associated with it. So instead, I wanted for this desk to go from dark mode to light mode with natural wood, silver, and white, and aim to have it focused on being as functional as possible with as little clutter as possible. Hiding cables is easy. You just strap it down to the underside of the desk, and then you never have to look at it again. But I want to avoid that as much as possible because whenever you do want to change something out, messing with the cables underneath just straight up sucks. So let's start with talking about the desktop. I didn't want to overspend in this department, and real wood can get pretty expensive very quickly. So instead, I went to this super cool store you may or may not have heard of. It's kind of low-key and is known for their minimalistic Scandinavian influences. Okay, you caught me. It's IKEA. This is their Karlby countertop. It comes in two different sizes, a 74-inch and 96-inch butcher block. I purchased the 74-inch one and it barely fit in our car. I highly recommend you measure your vehicle and make sure it can fit this thing. 74 inches though is just a little too long for my taste, so I got it cut down so that it can fit just 50 inches. If you manage to fit the 96-inch one in your vehicle, I think that one is actually a better value. Using the power of basic math, you can take that 96-inch block and make two 48-inch desktops out of that. And honestly, it's just slightly more expensive, so it's a much better deal. I'd recommend that if you want two desk surfaces. But in my case, we didn't have room for it, and I got plenty of desks around the house already. I don't know what I'd do with another additional desk. From there, I bought this budget Top Sky standing desk frame from Amazon. It's definitely not the nicest standing desk around, but this thing works, so what more could you ask for in a standing desk? But if you end up getting this particular standing desk, just know that the way you save the positions on this thing is kind of funky. And if I knew that early on, I probably would have gotten something else altogether. Standing desks are great because they provide height adjustment, but they can get pretty heavy since they have metal legs and motors built into them. And because of that, they can also be pretty difficult to move if you want to adjust the desk or manage the cables in the back. So with that in mind, I got these casters off Amazon and swapped out the desk's leg pads for the casters. And now the desk is mobile and I can sit anywhere in the room that I like, including near the window so I can stare outside, right back at my nosy neighbors, or open up a window and enjoy the breeze. Do keep in mind though, with casters, it raises the height of the desk a few inches, so be sure that your desk can still get as low as you need it to be. And each standing desk brand uses different size threads for their legs. So for this Top Sky one, I had to use M10 casters, while my autonomous standing desk needed M8 casters. Either way, I'll leave both of those casters down in the video description below, just in case you need access for that for your own standing desk. From there, the desk was now height adjustable, mobile, and looks pretty good. Now it's ready to be set up on top. But something most people don't think about in their space, and something I've always struggled with in my own rooms, is lighting. And I don't mean rainbow lights puking all across the room. That's a really cool aesthetic, but not what I'm going for. I'm not auditioning for a Skittles commercial. And in the early years of this YouTube channel, lighting was the biggest thing that I struggled with. So hopefully this video helps you learn from my own mistakes. What I've noticed is if you use overhead lights, the usual lights you have mounted to the ceilings in rooms at night, they could look really harsh. You can fix this by adding light at different heights and in different areas of the room to diversify the light sources and to make a more moody and a much more interestingly lit space. So my first thought was, why not just do what I normally do? Take LED light strips and slap it on the back. It looks cool, it's easy to set up, and I have it on one of my other desks already. so it should be really easy to replicate. But the issue with that is I found that it really only lights up the wall behind the desk and just barely lights up on top of the desk. That doesn't really add too much. So instead, I opted to use two different items to add two different types of lighting to this room. The first is actually an item the sponsor of this video, BenQ, sent. This is a Screen Bar Halo, an LED light bar that sits on top of your monitor and is powered by USB. It has both an LED light in the adjustable bar up front and in the housing in the back. With this light bar, you're able to light up the wall behind your monitor as well as light up your desk surface as well. Because of the Screen Bar Halo's design, the light doesn't shine against the monitor the way traditional lamps do and causes significantly less glare on your monitor compared to traditional lamps. And you can actually adjust the light bar so that it shines light in the exact area you want. The light bar is controlled by this wireless halo that lets you control brightness, color temperature, and what light is on. And you can also set your favorite lighting setup onto a button or set this thing to auto mode and let it decide how bright and what color the bar is emitting by using its built-in ambient light sensor. It's been a good addition to this desk and makes it easier to see my desk space at night when I want to read or write something on paper instead of relying on my computer monitor, and it makes it easier to find something in the dark on my desk. And the front lights add an additional source of light in the exact place you need it most without taking up valuable desk real estate. If you're interested in the BenQ Screen Bar Halo or any of their other desk lighting products, check out the link in the video description below. And the second item I'm using for additional lighting are these Nanoleaf Elements wood hexagon panels. These panels mimic the look and feel of natural wood. They don't get super bright, but during the daytime, the wood look and texture fits in with the rest of the natural wood decor of the desk. And at night, the light they emit go along nicely with the BenQ Screen Bar Halo to light up this side of the room. It makes it a well-lit space even in a dark room. And the Nanoleaf Elements can actually be controlled by the big three smart home assistants, Google Assistant and Apple HomeKit. For these, I have them set up to turn on later in the day, but if you are looking for that rainbow Skittles gamer look that I mentioned earlier, you can get Nanoleaf's triangle-shaped panels or their Lines series that have full RGB support. For my own use case, the Elements give me all the different shades of white that I need, and that's really all I want in this room. Now that I know what I wanted for lighting, I added some additional details to make sure the desk stood out even more. By default, a plain standing desk does not have any way to organize your stuff. It's just a flat slab on wheels, and it's all just out there for the world to judge. That's where this Grove-made monitor stand comes into play. This monitor stand is made out of maple and comes in different sizes and colors to best fit your desk environment. For this desk, I got the biggest one because it spans the entire desk, but there are different smaller ones as well. Now with this, we have a nice area to keep notebooks, pens, pencils, and whatever tangled mess of cables I want to make sure no one ever finds out about. Basically, this monitor stand is here to provide storage for the desk, hide cables, and increase monitor height all at the same time while looking good doing it. Then on top of the surface of the desk, I'm using an OrbitKey desk mat. This desk mat provides a water-resistant surface, smooth feel, has a spot to hold a pen, and honestly, I think it looks really cool with this desk. I tend to drink coffee at my desk, and on this type of surface, accidental spills are easier to clean than on cloth desk mats. Trust me, I've made the mistake of using white cloth desk mats in the past. Unless you want dead skin cells, drink stains, and to always be cleaning it, I'd suggest staying away from white cloth desk mats. Then I added this, a Loupedesk Live S. I would describe this as a roided up Stream Deck. This thing has physical buttons, knobs, and a touchscreen that's split into 15 different blocks. Each knob and button can be set up to do different functions, very similar to a Stream Deck, except with knobs and a touchscreen. I quickly loaded up all the programs and functions I wanted to use it for, and I can access all of them with just a click of a button. And then my Spotify music is controlled with a knob, and system volume is controlled by the other knob. Both this Loupedeck and the screen bar are connected to this Dell U2723 QE 4K Ultra Sharp 27-inch monitor. That's a mouthful. I struggled a lot with deciding between what exactly would be the best monitor for this setup. Dual monitors, a premium ultra-wide, a 5K ultra-wide to get the best of both worlds, but I think all that would make the desk feel tiny. And honestly, all of these things would be absolutely overkill for my needs, and also really expensive. Instead, I went with this Dell monitor because it has a built-in USB hub that can be controlled through the USB-C connection, and it also has a USB-A and USB-C port on the bottom left, meaning this monitor can act as a USB-C hub and docking station for basically any laptop I want to plug in that has USB-C. And it provides ports up front for me to charge my phone or other devices while I'm sitting here. I also like how color accurate and bright this monitor gets, while also providing a very minimalistic appearance. Even borders on all 4 sides, and no logos except this small Dell one barely visible on the stand. The stand lets you swivel, rotate, and adjust the height of the monitor, and also has a nice hole in the middle of the stand, so you can guide all of your cables through the back of the monitor and keep it from uglifying the rest of the front. Normally, I think most monitors make a desk look worse, but I like to think that this particular monitor is inoffensive at worst. Okay, now that we have a complete desk setup, we have to add some visual interest. That means adding random things to make the space look lived in instead of more sterile. This is a fake Target plant that provides no value to this desk, except it adds a bit of visual interest and doesn't require me to water it, which I guess is its real value. On the other side, I have this Belkin 3-in-1 wireless charger with MagSafe. This charging station is here so that I can charge my devices without charging cables dangling around my desk and cluttering up my space. And since it's a 3-in-1, there's much less cables than separate chargers for every single device. What I like about this setup is that everything is done with just a single cable. This single USB-C cable, when plugged into a laptop, activates video to the monitor, connection to the loop deck, and any other devices I have plugged into the monitor. So I can take pretty much any laptop that I'm using, plug in this one cable, and I have a fully functioning minimalist desk space. The monitor doesn't have any speakers, but monitor speakers usually suck anyway, and I just use my laptop speakers or use Bluetooth headphones. On the side, I keep a Logitech MX Master 3S in case I want to use a mouse instead of the trackpad. And overall, I'm pretty happy with the peripherals for this setup. So now that I've been living with this setup, how has this setup been treating me the last few weeks? I like it. At night with the lights on, the setup looks fantastic. It has that natural vibe I was looking for, but doesn't compromise in functionality. Using a laptop as the source of the setup really cleans things up, because the laptop provides the keyboard, speakers, webcam, and monitor, while the desk just enhances that with a second monitor, a charging station, and additional keys all around this one cable. And because of that, I don't feel like I'm missing screen real estate, and I have enough room for whatever I'm doing. I think this has been a super versatile setup and has made it really easy for me to just sit down and start working just like I intended. But I wouldn't be the only person who would benefit from this. If my wife wants to use this setup, she can. She just needs to plug in her MacBook and she's good to go. And if I have guests over who brought their laptop and just needs to quickly work on something, they can just sit down and plug their machine in. And that's the appeal. This one cable does all approach lets anyone with a USB-C laptop take advantage of the whole thing. That being said, obviously no setup is perfect, and I feel like I should point out the flaws of this setup as well. With the addition of casters to the standing desk, the desk wobbles a bit more than without casters. It's not too bad, but when you raise the height of the desk all the way up or to a decent standing height, the wobbling is even more obvious. It's not too annoying, but if you're an aggressive typer, you'll be in the middle of a level 3 earthquake. With this setup, since I'm relying on my laptop screen as my secondary monitor, looking down at the MacBook screen is just not ideal. It hurts your neck if you look at it that way too much, and is mainly there for more secondary tasks, while the bigger monitor handles the main tasks. And by relying on the laptop's webcam instead of using a dedicated one, oftentimes I'll be looking at the bigger monitor on calls, and the webcam looks up my nose, exposing all of my nasty boogers. Other than those few flaws, I think this desk setup ended up pretty good. I really like how bright and warm it ended up looking, and it's a complete contrast to my other desk setup. But really, that's a good thing. That's what I wanted. This workspace has a nice vibe to it. So that's how the new desk setup came to be. I feel like I change up desk setups like every few months. But either way, I hope that gave you inspiration and ideas for your own setups, and you got to hear my mistakes with this, which hopefully helps you out when you set up your own. Either way, what do you personally think of this desk setup? Is it too simple? Do you think something needs to be added, or maybe even potentially removed? What's your ideal desk setup? Are you working on something similar to this? Let me know in the comment section below. And well, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and well, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you all next time. Bye.